If you're hearing us on an Android device and you haven't yet checked out the Podcast Republic app, well, I would say that you are someone who doesn't listen to podcast hosts. So maybe just change that and listen to me saying, check out the Podcast Republic app on the Google Play Store. There's thousands of good reviews, so you don't have to take my word for it. Check out the Podcast Republic app on the Google Play Store. We have another sponsor as well. Support for Dissecting the 80s is brought to you by Manscaped, the best in men's below-the-waist grooming, champions of the world. I didn't add a word there. That's what the ad copy says. I read it correctly. I can read as a 34-year-old adult man. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. I love alliteration and rhyming in ad copy. Manscaped just launched their 4th-generation trimmer, the Lawnmower 4.0, which they sent to each of us, along with a t-shirt that I don't know that I have the guts to wear in public, but you probably
I might. I also was thinking, like, maybe I'll crop it, too, but I didn't know if that would be, like, weird to be like, thanks for the free t-shirt, let me cut it. You know what I mean?
I think it's probably fine. I think if you wear it, that's good. The Lawnmower 4.0, that's right, their 4th iteration of below-the-waist grooming tools. You can join over 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with our exclusive offer for you, 20% off and free worldwide shipping. That's anywhere on the globe. Worldwide shipping for free. Enter the code MACHO, M-A-C-H-O, MACHO at manscaped.com.
We are one of the first people to try the 4.0, and I really like it because I've used other trimmers in the past, and they kind of make the cash and prizes look like they're about to lock the doors of this high school gym and like burn it down with everyone inside. But this doesn't do that, which I really appreciate. It's a very smooth experience.
It's also got a travel lock, which is good because I have had many times the razor turn on in the bag, which is always embarrassing because people are like, "Oh, I know what's in there," and you're like, "I mean, I wouldn't be embarrassed if it was the vibrator that you thought it was, but it's actually just a boring razor." So that's once again 20% off and free shipping with our code MACHO, M-A-C-H-O at manscaped.com. I hope to God Mom took our word and isn't listening because I'm about to say these words.
Your balls will thank you. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code MACHO, M-A-C-H-O at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use code MACHO, M-A-C-H-O. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. Now I just wonder what Macho Man Randy Savage doing that would be like. Like, because, you know, he said he was famous for, like, just picking stuff up off the table. And I'm like, was he just, I'm just picturing, like, picking up, like, the crop duster and, like, the lawnmower and being like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Your last match was a close win, a close shave, you might say. This week it'll be even closer as I pin you down 1, 2, 3.
Your ass is grass, and I have the Lawnmower 4.0.
Yes, exactly. That would have been it right there. He would have been one of the many wrestlers who are now podcasters. And I think we would have had that exact ad read you're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Welcome to Dissecting the 80s. I am Trip Lano, one half of the Mega Podcasting Powers. And with me, as always, is a man who I would trust to fight a kangaroo down under, the Macho Mandrew.
Andrew Lano. Although I don't think he fights a kangaroo, right?
Well, like kangaroo boxing, I feel was a thing in cartoons.
Oh,
mostly.
yeah. I forgot about that.
I don't know how often that I mean, I am certain that occurred IRL as well, but I just remember cartoons were always kangaroo boxing.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever seen red kangaroos? They're jacked.
No, is it like a subspecies of kangaroo?
Yeah, they're called. I'm pretty sure they're red kangaroos. But like, there's this it's the photo that pops up when you Google, when you like image search for them, and it looks. He's like, I'm gonna pose for Trip because we could see each other and try to describe it. He's like leaning. It's like he's laying down, like he's like posing on a beach, like Arnold, and he's just like jacked beyond belief.
I think I've seen what you're talking about, and I think I always assumed it was a Photoshop.
No, apparently that's like that's just a breed of kangaroo that just their muscles look like that. Whether or not that like actually means they are strong, who knows? But
right. But they have a defined musculature. Well, we are going. We have like a good number of Australian listeners, and so I apologize for all of the bad impressions that are going to come your way over the next hour.
Mine is half decent.
But okay,
my dialect is half decent.
I let them be the judge of that. Tweet us what your opinions are on our impressions. But we, of course, are celebrating the 35th anniversary of Crocodile Dundee. So we're headed down under. That's the only thing I could do.
It's like not even a dialect.
No, it's terrible. And also, that's not a knife. That's a knife. You know, that's about it. That's about the extent of what I got. Anyway, we watched Crocodile Dundee, so you know what that means.
We gotta go back. We're gonna go dissect the 80s. It's your terrible meandering air quotes comedy. Something's got about your terrible meandering air quotes comedy.
When the mega powers explode.
I'm talking about the 80s. Oh, yeah.
Great Scott!
Cream of the crop. Oh, yeah.
Mega powers, yeah!
When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.
So, before we talk about the movie, because we're going to talk about the movie, of course, I do want to ask, did you do any of the research of like how this came to be?
No, my first note is literally, I know nothing about this movie, and I hated it.
I don't think I quite hated it. I mean, I certainly didn't like love this movie or anything, but the story of how this came to be is essentially Paul Hogan was a commercial. He was a guy who had like a lot of very short jobs of various types. One of those like sort of like, I think this character is very much rooted in his own personal life. And at some point he becomes the spokesman for a series of ads for Foster's in Britain. I'm pretty sure they aired in the UK.
Okay.
I didn't write all this down word for word, but so he does these ads and they're like a breakaway smash hit. Like back, you know, when ads just like kind of would blow up like that from time to time.
Was this pre his show in the so this was like early 70s?
This might have been after that.
Because I saw that he had a show, like the Paul Hogan show for like 10 plus years. And I was kind of like, how?
Yeah, I think he did this amateur TV show, I think, that led to the thing that you're talking about. Yeah, it's like a sketch show. And so that airs for a long time. And then he does like cigarette ads, and then he does a couple of movies, but he ends up like throughout the decade, he's in these Foster's ads, and it's this like Australian guy in London, kind of fish out of water being the joke, right? Like it's this like, you know, that he says Australian words and people are like, ah. And so these are so popular. He's like, I think I should write this as a movie, essentially. And he writes this movie, which then gets made, which, you know, as we've said many times, like it's very hard to get a movie made. But beyond that, he wins a Golden Globe for Best Actor for this.
He beat Matthew Broderick in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. And I don't get it.
Which is, yeah, that's beyond the pale for me. But I think it's like, we talked about this just recently when we did Frog Dreaming, which I think was on the Patreon.
That was Patreon.
Where it was like, back then, stuff just like didn't travel around the world as easily as it did today. And I think the novelty of an Australian guy was just huge, which sounds ridiculous now. But
maybe like, that's why, because the whole time I was like, this feels like King Kong or like Tarzan, where it's like, we're going to bring this man from the jungle into society. And I was like,
yes.
I was like, except he's just a dude who's like not like he's not feral, he's just a dude, and it's 1988 or 86 or whatever. Like the shimmer and shine of that appeal should be out the fucking window.
But that's the thing, is like it's still pretty rare, I think. But anyway, this screenplay gets nominated for an Academy Award.
I don't get it.
A BAFTA and a Saturn Award. So I just like, I agree with you. I don't love this movie. There's some things I did get a couple legitimate laughs here. I'm sorry to say that if that disappoints you, but I just think it's buck wild. Like you hear about older stories, right? Of like going back into like, you know, even going.
Well, it was also based on a dude and he lied about it forever.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I didn't catch
it's
that.
It's based on a guy. He wasn't called Crocodile Dundee, but he had some weird name. And like up until like the early 2000s, when the third one came out, somehow he was like, "No, I made this up myself." And then it came out that like, no, there was a dude who ended up dying in a psychotic break in a police shootout.
Oh my God. Geez, that's really horrible. I don't know. There's something about this that I find charming in the like same way you hear these stories where people from the past just like showed up and pretended to be a person and then they got hired anyway. Like you hear these stories and it's like it's just a different time. It doesn't like things don't like exist now, but like you hear about like a guy who worked in a movie studio or someone who wrote for, you know, Marvel or DC Comics, and they're like, yeah, I just like never left him alone. Like I went and I hung out in the bullpen until they gave me a job. And now like if you tried to walk into the Marvel offices, they would tase you.
Oh yeah.
Like you would get to the elevator.
You would have to be Wanda Maximoff in WandaVision, like blowing open doors with powers.
Yeah.
And that's the only way you're getting back there.
You'd stride past the desk and they'd be like, sir, security. And then 4 enormous people would swarm you and shoot you with taser guns. Like,
and then quickly look at the security camera and be like, is Feige watching? Does he need my headshot? I can be a stunt dude.
Yeah. And so it's like, I'm sure that's the same thing here where he's like, oh, I'll write the old screenplay, yeah? And he, you know, click, click, clack, clack, clack. And then he hands it over and they're like, yeah, okay, no one knows what an Australian is because for some reason in 1986, that's just like complete novelty. And so he comes over and it's this like runaway train success. Critically and commercially, this movie is a huge, huge success. And I really truly think it's like there just wasn't that much Australia stuff.
And like beyond the fact that I don't like the movie, I'm just like, there's not really a plot or any conflict, so to speak. It's just sort of meandering sketches.
Right.
And then like...
Which makes sense, he was a sketch guy.
Well, yeah, but like even in Christmas Vacation, there is the through line of like, we are making I want to have a perfect family Christmas. Like, right. Even though everything kind of is loosely around that, like whatever, but that's the through line. And for this, I was just like, I don't understand what we're doing here. Like, she flies out to this place in Australia in the outback, basically, to find this man who had his leg bitten off by a crocodile and survived and now gives crocodile tours. And that's so cool. And for some reason, this Long Island newspaper was like, yes, we want to spend money to send you there for that. And then
newspapers did used to do stuff like this. To be fair, they did definitely do stuff like this.
But like a Long Island specific, like New York Times, maybe the Washington Post, maybe.
Newspapers of all stripes had their writers like traveling the country, like
their country, America.
Paper. I mean, maybe, but like the Daily Local, our hometown paper, I bet you in the 60s and 70s probably like sent a reporter to the Kentucky Derby, whether there was a local horse in it or not, you know, like a long
But like
travel.
That I get, but going to Australia is very different.
Yeah, I don't know. Also, her dad owns the paper, so it's definitely some nepotism.
I mean,
there,
yes. But so she gets to Australia and immediately finds out that the man is a liar and he didn't lose his leg and like is a sham artist. And her response isn't immediately, oh, this is a waste of everyone's time. I'm going home. And she's like, you know what? I think I'll write this story. About what? What is the story now? Your story was a man got his leg bit off, survived, and now takes people on crocodile tours. That's not what this is anymore. So who gives a shit?
Right. He has a leg bite, which doesn't look gnarly enough for international newspaper article to me. But again, I do think that some of this is like, when 35 years go by, the world changes significantly. I really do think it was like, oh man, have you heard the wild story about the guy from Australia? I really do think that could have been a serial news. Like even this guy who just like got bit and survived and now is just like this wild, interesting character. Because you do definitely see from time to time on, various websites, the sort of, how do you even categorize this? So like
it's like clickbait fluff, but not necessarily feel good.
It's not even clickbait. It's like there's like a subgenre of documentary that I really enjoy. That's essentially, would you get a load of these weirdos? And it's just like,
like that Netflix show, We Are the Champions.
Yes, exactly. And like that's a big subgenre of documentary, and I really enjoy it. But it's like it can be about people who do a weird sport or have a weird hobby or like are just a weird group of people, like the wild and wonderful whites of West Virginia. White, the surname, not the race of human. Just to be clear,
I have not heard of them.
No, I'm just saying. When you say the whites of West Virginia on an audio medium, people might be like, "Wait, excuse me," but it's about the family of this. I'm going to call it step dancing, which is not exactly right, but it's something like that. This guy named Jesco White, who was like a lunatic, basically, and it's about his family, and it was produced by the Jackass people. And I remember watching this movie, and I was so taken in by this documentary. I watched it twice in 2 weeks with 2 different groups of people because I was like, you have to see this. It's just absolutely insane. But it's really just like a sad portrait of a family who
it's just Grey Gardens.
Horrible straits.
They always end up being like Grey Gardens, really.
Yeah, Grey Gardens is a great example of a would you get a load of these weirdos documentary. Like it's a subgenre of just like, look at these freaks. And I mean, not to get too esoteric here, but like I'm sure it has roots in the same part of the human brain that made people want to go to freak shows and do those things way back when. Like I'm sure all this stuff is the same. So you do occasionally see it's like meet the man who makes his living selling feathers in New Orleans or something like that, right? It's just like some completely ludicrous person who most of all, it's like this escapist fantasy for people who work 9 to 5 to see someone who's like, I don't give a shit about a career. I don't know what day it is. I just wake up and do these things. Like I don't have any schedule. I don't have any boss. And there's like this escapist fantasy. So I could see that leading to the story, but you're right. Like once she gets there and the crocodile has not bitten his leg off, it seems like you need to make a phone call.
Yeah. Well, especially because it ends up being like, the way they talk about it is that, oh, she's been writing. So, like, is this multiple stories? Right. Yes, and then she's like, and I'm going to bring you home to New York. You should come with me. It'll be a great closer. And I was like, what is this fucking story?
Yeah, I think she's written a series of articles about the adventures with Mick.
I want to see the deleted scenes of the office intern who desperately wants to be a journalist and was like, wow, she's going to go write about this great guy. And then the copy starts coming in. He's like, what is she doing? He's what? He's who now? Excuse me. I thought she was writing this story. I want to be a journalist.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, it's nonsense. I also think like this is essentially 2 movies. The first half, 40 minutes or so, is in the outback, and then the second half is Crocodile Dundee in New York.
Yeah.
And they both, if you take them as their own little thing, like they both have their moments, but I don't like together the movie feels very of two halves.
You should, the first movie, since they're going to do sequels, should have been the outback, and it should have ended with, why don't you come to New York with me? And then he makes a face, and then you freeze frame, and it's like the end question mark. And then the sequel could have been all fish out of water stuff.
Right. Or you do all this outback stuff in 10 minutes or, like we go through. Like, not to, everybody hates narration, but it's like she's narrating and reading the story of the man that she found in Australia or whatever. And then it's like, she looks up from her notebook or her computer or whatever. And he's like, wow, I think you really captured me or something. And then you bring him to New York. Because the New York stuff is way more fun, I think. Although I loved the shots of Australia.
That's the part. It's like Call Me by Your Name. I'm like, yes, this is a beautiful little like love story moment, but also these sweeping, beautiful shots of Italy are just the greatest.
Yeah. So I don't quite know what it is, but what's the ideal rather when I say what it is, but I think that they have pretty good chemistry together.
Well, they ended up married.
But I believed them falling in love in the Australia part of the movie. And so when it was like, oh, she has another man at home, I was like, oh, are we going to do a love triangle? Then like, no, not really.
Yeah, like I don't understand what, like, there was no tension or conflict in this movie. Like, you need conflict to be interesting.
Right.
Otherwise, it's it's just like an upward trajectory, and it's like, well, I'm bored.
The only time there's conflict is like 80 minutes into this.
There's 15. I literally went, there's 15 minutes left, and this is the closest we're getting to a conflict.
Right. So she goes to we'll start rolling through this. She, as we already explained, she goes to the outback. There is a very, I found very amusing. The first 4 or 5 lines of the dialogue of the movie are the thing you said already about, Mick and the crocodile. And it's just very funny to me. It's like, all right, here's why you should care about this guy. Ready, set, go. And they set a timer for 30 seconds. And they're like, crocodile, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, okay, that's it. That's why you care about this movie. Go ahead.
Yeah, and if she got to Australia and he was a man with a prosthetic leg who overcame the odds and now gave crocodile boat tours, I'm way more invested.
Right.
I basically wrote, I was like, I either needed this story with a different actor, or you can keep this actor, even though I don't care for him very much, and give me a different story. Like, it doesn't work. Like, I need a true, like a Steve Martin, like someone who like really is, I find funny and charming.
Yeah, the other thing is, I originally had this on the radar and we didn't do it because the movie just kind of like dribbled out with no fanfare, but he did another movie that came out like 2020 that has just a really bad poster that's, I think it's sort of meta, where Paul Hogan is playing
it's like a
himself.
Bubba Hotep? No, the other one.
Not Bubba Hotep. It's not even quite like My Name is Bruce.
That one.
It's like it's like him as himself, and not in like a heightened situation in the way that My Name is Bruce is like, oh, monsters are real.
What a shock. He wrote a movie where there wasn't really conflict and wasn't as interesting as it should have been.
But if you look at the poster for this, I'm gonna have to pull up the title of the movie. If you look at the poster for it, it's like him and Chevy Chase just like poorly photoshopped. It's very, very strange looking. The Very Excellent Mr. Dundee is what it's called.
Huh. Chevy Chase would have been a decent choice to replace Paul Hogan.
Can I run down this cast list for you?
Sure.
You got Paul Hogan.
When is it? What year is it?
The year is 2020.
Oh, right. You said it came out last year.
Yeah, it came out in July. So his son is Jacob Elordi, who's in that Kissing Booth movie, those movies on Netflix. Okay. And then here's where it gets crazy. Chevy Chase, John Cleese, Olivia Newton-John.
Really?
Wayne Knight.
Like Newman?
Yep. And Reginald Val Johnson, of course, reprising his role. Well, not reprising his role, but...
Huh. Well,
yeah.
I mean, hey, paycheck's a paycheck, I guess, but that's just a weird collection of people.
Yeah. It's a very strange one.
Because go ahead.
The kindest comment I can make about the new movie is that it includes John Cleese's worst performance ever. And yes, I have seen Fierce Creatures from 1997.
Wow.
So I was like, oh, we'll do it when this comes out. And then I was like, never mind. That movie is going to come out like a wet fart. So we're doing it now because it turned 35. But I feel like I had seen at least some of this movie. I was sort of like culturally aware of Crocodile Dundee.
I mean, I knew his name and I knew the knife bit, but that was kind of it.
That's about where I was. And so I was really surprised that the first 45 minutes of this is a pretty straight rom-com. Or not even a rom-com. It's more like a romance movie of like an old style.
Yeah, it looks like the poster for Romancing the Stone.
Yeah.
The first 45 minutes is the poster for Romancing the Stone.
Yeah. And I will say, I do like a lot, I didn't write down the actor's name, but the gentleman who plays the sort of put upon assistant of Crocodile Dundee.
The Michael Caine type.
Yeah. And what you, like, to go back to what you said, is like, why does this man have an assistant? Like, what? And
why?
It's like,
yeah.
Is he the co-owner of the business? It's never quite explained. But he definitely seems to be his LeFou to Crocodile Dundee's Gaston, and it's just the performance is very good. And when we leave Australia, we leave him behind, which I was like, oh, that's a bad move. You
should have brought him along.
Yeah.
So she gets to the city in Australia, and they have to like drive into town to find Crocodile Dundee, and they're like drinking at a bar because they're like, well, I don't know where he is, and I was like, that's red flag number one. I'm a journalist.
Right. And then it's like, oh, how about I give you $2,500? And he's like, I know exactly where he is.
Yeah, here's the thing. It's 1986. I'm an intrepid lady reporter with a nose for news and the shoes to follow the story. I'm not putting up with this bullshit. I'm here for a story. If y'all are gonna dick around, I'm not gonna play this game. Show me this one-legged man who's brave, or I'm getting on a plane out of here. Especially because I'm in Australia, which is God's biggest game of what won't kill you in this room.
I really think that at the point where you've committed to spending 1986 money to fly to Australia, like, you have to come back with a story.
She already was in Australia.
Oh, that's right.
In the opening, she already was there.
She was doing a different story.
Yeah, they would have been like,
cut. That what the gimmick is? You
have a story already. Come home.
Yeah. Okay, fair. I forgot about that part. You're totally right. Yeah, I agree. I back to the assistant. I also really like that he's doing that thing where it's like he's dressed like a complete slob, but the clothes were fancy at some point.
Yeah, it felt Michael Caine. like a little hoagie.
Yeah. I also, the Foster's placement in this product placement in this movie is absolutely out of control. Like, buck wild amount of Foster's.
Well, I mean, here's the thing: there weren't a lot of options for product placement in Australia.
No, fair. And of course, like, you want international too, because you know this movie's coming out in America.
Yeah.
So the assistant is like really gassing up Crocodile Dundee. He's like spinning this yarn about how amazing he is,
how brave he is.
Yeah, and she's having absolutely none of it. Like, she's not interested. She knows this is nonsense. And then Dundee
it's sort of like if you go see a show for like a big name performer, like you're going to see Madonna in concert, or you're seeing like a big Broadway star starring in a musical, and you get to there and the curtain's not rising at 8:00, 8:15, curtain's still not rising, and it's like they're like, "Oh no, don't worry, it's a great show," and I'm like, "Yeah, well, she's not here, so." What do we do?
Yeah. Well, if you're a Madonna fan, you wait until 11:30 p.m., which is about when she used to go on.
And the show started. It was supposed to start at 7:30.
Yeah. She's having none of it. And then he makes his big entrance, seemingly wrestling a crocodile. And even from the jump, I'm like, wait, he's like standing up. Why is he standing up with the like? How is the crocodile? Oh, it's not alive.
Okay. I was like, please, dear God, don't be a real crocodile. Please, dear God, be a fake. Like, I don't want to know how this movie would have handled that. Just give me a prop crocodile.
And so, of course, he oh, ha, the stuffed croc. And immediately the two of them are eye fucking. Like,
see, I didn't get that. I thought I saw her be like,
God.
I got more like, wait, you're Crocodile Dundee?
She gives him the up, down 3 times. And then she's like staring at his junk.
I didn't get that.
She's like, oh, is he using a Manscaped 4.0 or is he still on the 3.0?
So he's like, he comes over and she's like, hi, I'm from the newspaper. I'm here to write a story about a one-legged man who overcame adversity. And he's like, let's dance. And instead of being like, no, you need to answer some questions, buddy. She's like, yeah, we'll dance. And then these dudes call him a poacher. And he punches them, and I was like, "Oh, so he is a poacher." And that's literally every 5 minutes. I was like, "So that's going to be the conflict of this movie." Okay, all right, I see it. I see your conflict, and then it just never was.
Or even just he is accused of being a poacher is a conflict. Like, he has to rectify that is a real conflict.
Like, everyone in town was always like, "I bet he was the reason he got bit is because he was out there poaching," and like no one believes that he wasn't.
Right. Also, Paul Hogan, when this movie was made, is 47 years old.
And he looks it.
He looks worse than some 70-year-olds I know. Like, bonkers how bad this man looks.
Yeah, bonkers. That's the other thing. I was like, he's not even like a hunka. He
is handsome in a character actor way, I will say. Like, I don't think he's unattractive, but I don't think I'm with you 100%. Like, he's not a stud. He's not a typical leading man in any way, but he definitely is like, I will say this of Paul Hogan in 1986, at least. He's definitely charming, and he's definitely
There's
like
some charm
by here on charm. I think he's more charming than you, obviously, but like I'm going to make this comparison. You're going to freak out. I'm not saying they're on the same level.
Are you talking about Dwayne The Rock Johnson?
No. I'm saying it's the same thing as like when they would cast Dolly Parton in a movie where it's just like she doesn't really have any acting talent, but she's a charming person and it comes through on screen.
See, here's I think Dolly does have talent. She has a very small, like her I'm gonna go dig deep into my backyard baseball knowledge. Like, her little square of where she can hit the ball well is small, but she does have one. And that's why they only gave her like Steel Magnolias and 9 to 5, the stuff that like,
right.
You're going to handle this very well. This is where you can act very well. Don't push her too far beyond that. That's right. That's not the idea. I don't know what I would put this man in to be like, yeah, this is your little square that you can hit well.
Yeah. I mean, I think again, like you have to remember that Australia itself is a novelty.
I know.
And so it's like I don't want to do too much of that. It's like, we just judge the movies on their own merit, but I do think a lot of it is like, oh, this, like, as a person who's watching this as a contemporary viewer in 1986, they're going like, oh my God, this dude is crazy. Is this what Australia is really like? And like, for all intents and purposes, that's what most of America thinks Australia is really like today.
Yeah.
That it's just like wild bar fights and various animals trying to eat you. So I'm like,
Well, at one point, Australia contains 7 of the 10 world's deadliest poisonous creatures. So like, a lot of things do want to kill you.
It also was a former penal colony, so it's not
True.
like there's not, a weird history of it. It's definitely, I mean, I have a lot of desire to visit Australia.
I do too.
Plan to get there in the next few years, COVID willing.
I want to take my best friend with me who's from Australia so she can keep me on the path of like, you take one step further and there's a giant plant mouth open, ready to gobble you.
Yeah, I assume just everything I encounter will want to eat me, and that's fine. That's fine. I am food. That's what we all are. I like the little, action hero-y stuff that happens here. For example, there's this big tough guy at the bar, and the gimmick is, everyone lines up to punch him, and if he spills the beer, you win money. And Paul Hogan lines up like he's going to punch him, and instead kisses him on the forehead, and the guy freaks out.
No, he kisses him on the mouth. I'm pretty sure it's a mouth kiss.
Oh, you're right. He does. He does kiss him on the mouth. You're right. I'm sorry. I watched a different movie. Between watching this and recording where there was forehead kissing between men is a plot point.
In the Italian mafia kind of way, where you grab the head aggressively.
No. The new John Cena comedy that came out on Hulu with Lil Ray Howery.
Oh, Vacation Friends. I keep seeing Hulu really wants me to watch it.
Yeah, it definitely. I like John Cena.
I do too.
I think he's a good dude. No, I'm saying I watched the movie. I was advertised to me, and I was like, yeah, all right, this seems like a big box comedy that I might enjoy. It's pretty soggy in the middle, but John Cena's funny. He's got good timing. Whatever. But there's a bit where he's kissing Lil Ray Howery on the forehead, and he is very uncomfortable with it and won't return it. And then it's like a Chekhov's forehead kiss.
Does John Cena take his clothes off in the movie?
Yeah, you see his butt.
Thank God. Okay, I'm sold now. Because him in the Suicide Squad and those dad tighty whities, I was like, okay.
Yeah, you see his butt. I was like, hey, whoa, that's a lot of John Cena right there. But anyway, I thought that was funny. I thought that was a good gag, and that reminded me of something that, a Bruce Campbell or
Honestly, I kind of wish this was Bruce Campbell in this movie. I think he is my perfect choice to replace Paul Hogan, because he's handsome, but not a knockout hunt, Hollywood hot. He's not. Oh, Kurt Russell in this movie, he's taking it and running with it. You don't think about anybody else in this movie.
Right.
He's too powerful.
It's too much.
He's too much.
Too much.
But Bruce Campbell to me is I don't want to say the poor man's Kurt Russell, but he's the attainable Kurt Russell.
The TV movie Kurt Russell.
Sure. Yeah. I was trying to think what's the nicest way to say it. Yeah. Because he's handsome.
Look, this podcast likes Bruce Campbell. This is not an insult to say Bruce Campbell is a little bit less attractive than Kurt Russell. These are objective statements.
It's true. Oh my God. Speaking of Kurt Russell, real quick sidebar. My boyfriend, our parents gave my boyfriend one of those books of questions for dinner party conversations or whatever. They were like, we're getting rid of these. Do you want them? And Jack was like, yes. So on the car ride home from the beach, he was like, if you could have the head of hair of anyone in Hollywood, and didn't even finish the sentence. I was like, Kurt Russell. I was like, 1980s Kurt Russell. I was like, 1980s Kurt Russell, to be specific. And he was like, wow, that was. And I was like, no, that's.
I would take 2021 Kurt Russell, no problem. But you've seen him in those Christmas movies. That stuff's still
no, yes, but Kurt Russell is about the same age. I want that hair, so I will grow into Santa hair.
Sure. Yeah, Mamma Mia, that guy, genetic lottery winner,
right?
So we get into him telling this story about how he was in a relationship, but it ended because he went on walkabout for 18 months. And at this point, I'm like, you know what? Fuck you, buddy. You don't walk out on. Yeah, you're an asshole. That's really shitty.
And then,
because her response, she's like, oh, she didn't wait for you? What?
I was confused. I was like, is her delivery supposed to be? Is she trying to be sarcastic? And I'm not getting it, or is she being earnest? I didn't read it
that way. I read it as an earnest response, because I think at this point she's already kind of swooning.
Yeah, no thank you, ma'am. And then we get the walking version of the Jungle Cruise.
Yeah.
Oh, first he has to Jedi mind trick a water buffalo, apparently. I thought it was a longhorn.
Yeah.
So they're driving, and then there's a giant water buffalo in the middle of the road, and he gets out of the car and like Jedi mind tricks it to lay down. And I went, well, how is that better than standing? And the movie doesn't tell you either because they smash cut to the next scene where the car's past it. And I was like, no, hang on.
If it lays down in the road, it seems like a larger obstacle than if it were walking and you could like try to inch around it. But I think their concern if we try to drive around it, it will smash into the car.
Yeah, well, buffalo's gonna buff.
You need them to make the good mozzarella.
That's true. And have the good VeggieTales song.
The good VeggieTales song? There's a water buffalo VeggieTales song?
Everybody's got a water buffalo. Yeah, I don't know if it's a full song because he starts to sing it and then the asparagus cuts him off and he's like, you can't say everybody's got a water buffalo because then everyone's going to write angry letters about where's my water buffalo. And then Larry like gets sad because he can't sing the song.
I remember when our mom tried to sneakily backdoor religion into the house with Christian vegetables.
And I was like, hey, Story of Esther, get out of here. The cucumber is a superhero who fights fibs. That one. And she was like, I tried.
You want to do a bit about the cucumber having his hairbrush given to the peach because the peach has hair? I am here to see that. More vegetable jokes.
Give me the tape that's just the silly songs. How about that one?
Yeah. Silly songs with Larry. None of this Jesus crap. What are we wearing boots on our heads and walking on walls or something? No. Give me the jokes about combs, please.
Give me the song of the Cebu.
So they're tooling around on a boat now.
No, first we get the there's the moment of it looks like the Jungle Cruise. He's walking, telling a story about his boat.
Right.
He's like, this is the boat that I was attacked in. And it's in a tree for no reason. It's not explained how the boat got in the tree. Like, he's not like, well, these marshlands have been, drying up and the boat was here and there was a tree under it. Like, there's none of explanation. It's just like, this was my crocodile boat, now it's in a tree. And I was like,
the implication I got was like the crocodile jacked up the boat
and threw it into a tree.
It like flipped it up all around and stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I've seen there's a really good Australian killer croc movie called Blackwater.
Okay,
it's
recent or
no? It's like 10 or 15 years old at this point, but it's hyper realistic. It's like filmed, like it makes it, the way it is shot, it feels like a documentary.
Oh, cool.
It's not, but it's based on a true story, like that actually happened.
Oh, like the Ghosts in the Darkness?
Yeah, exactly. The only animal movie reference we make on this podcast, the Ghosts in the Darkness. Yeah, so it's the croc in that movie screws with their boat, and that is like a thing that like the boats that you have to take for croc infested waters are a very shallow draft.
They're like the flat boats, kind of.
Right, and so I think they're very prone to tipping.
But yeah, it just seems weird because it's not like near water, and the boat is like up in a tree, and he's like giving his Jungle Cruise spiel, and then she's like, "Oh, you were out here hunting crocs?" And he's like, "No, that's illegal. I was fishing." And she's like, "Oh, really?" And she reaches into the boat and pulls out like a comical amount of shotgun shells.
Yeah.
And
I think they're rifle bullets.
Whatever.
Just so we stop the tweets. Yeah.
I don't care about guns.
I'm just telling you, they're rifle shells or casings. I don't know what the word is.
And I was like, at this point, I'm like, he basically might as well be wearing like a lion's head on his chest,
right,
like fucking Kraven the Hunter from Spider-Man or the White Witch in Narnia, and just like, I'm not a poacher. And then he's never a poacher.
Right. It doesn't make any sense that they have these two distinct scenes of, oh, you're a poacher. No, JK, I was just defending myself. And like, well, then why does the whole town think you're a poacher?
Right.
Unless it's like the situation where he's technically not a poacher, but he keeps putting himself in situations.
So it's a Tucker and Dale
crocodiles. Yeah,
it's the Tucker and Dale of crocodiles.
But like with a purpose, right? Like if Tucker and Dale had malicious intent, so it's like he goes out fishing.
Oh,
fish,
gotcha.
where the crocs are, and then the croc attacks, and he's like, well, I had to defend myself, didn't I? And they're like, no, like you could have just fished anywhere else. And it was like, nah, that's my good spot.
Yeah.
And so it's like,
okay, I like that better.
What we're doing. And so he is technically not a poacher, right? Like he just barely clears the bar, but everyone is like, no, you're a poacher.
Yeah.
Come on.
I like that version. And then she's talking about how she used to be married, and she was like, we marched for everything, nuclear war, pro women's lib. And then she was like, maybe he's marching for gay Nazis now. And I was like, for what?
Yeah, I'm sorry. What is the joke that you're making there?
Because I don't know.
But this turns into Crocodile Dundee just being like the most annoying person to me, where it's like, nah, I don't have an opinion about anything. Like nothing matters. I don't care about anything. And it's like, all right, pal.
Unless
like,
you're going to be a real legit nihilist, get out.
And like to some degree, like, yeah, this guy lives in the backwoods. He's probably only seen 22 different people in his life. Like he doesn't know about any of this stuff. But it's just like, you have opinions about things because clearly you're very against poaching. Perhaps that's what you could talk about when she asked you this question. You know what I mean? It's like the equivalent when you're like, oh, like, what kind of music do you like? And someone goes like, oh, I listen to everything. It's like, cool, great, good job progressing the conversation forward. Thank you.
I was going to say, I don't own a TV, people.
Yeah, see, the difference with that person is like they're trying to shut you down and the other person isn't trying to shut you down. They just do it.
That's true. So now we get kangaroo poachers, I guess?
I don't know that they're poachers, right? Like, does he say they're poachers?
Well, no, but I also just like, I don't know what to be a poacher, does it have to be an endangered animal, or is it just like you're an asshole about hunting?
I think poaching by definition is hunting an animal that you're not supposed to, whether that's endangered species or just off season.
Okay.
Or like maybe it's illegal to hunt at night for safety reasons or something like that. Like that would also be poaching.
Yeah.
Because the only real poaching story I'm familiar with is there's this very fascinating little bit of trivia about the national park system in the United States. Yellowstone National Park crosses three states.
Really?
And there is, so it's in Montana, Wyoming, and I think it's Idaho.
That's cool.
That's right. Well, part of the park is in a completely unpopulated part of that state. Mm-hmm. And so technically, if you were to commit a crime there, you could not possibly have a jury of your peers because no one technically lives there.
Oh.
And so you are required to draw a jury of your peers by very specific laws and regulations in the United States, like for drawing a jury. And so there is a fairly famous case, like people found out about this in the last 5 years and started writing about it, and people were like, oh, you could literally commit a murder here and like there's nothing to be done about it. And there was a guy who shot, I think it was a moose in that area, and you're not allowed to hunt in the national parks.
Yeah.
Leave
only memories or whatever.
Well,
doesn't it leave only moose carcasses?
No. Leave only memories is the opposite of what you should do. You should take your memories and leave only footprints.
Oh, well, I wouldn't think you would want to leave footprints. That might disturb the whatever.
Well, you can. The slogan is take only pictures, leave only footprints.
Got it. So, yeah, not leave only moose carcasses.
Well, he shot this moose in this like dead zone. Oh. And so it became a thing where like people were telling this guy like, demand a jury trial because they cannot possibly convict you on that. And he ended up taking a plea deal because he was like, look, I broke the law. I knew I broke the law. I was breaking the law when I did it. The moose like just barely crossed into the bad zone. Like he was hunting it legally and then it crossed over and he was just like, I'm not going to leave this opportunity. But he fully copped to it. He confessed. He's like, I broke the law. I did something stupid. I should go to prison. Like I have broken the law. I'm owning up to what I did. But it was this very funny thing where people are like, oh, no, technically you can't be prosecuted.
Well, I feel like it would just be a jury of park rangers.
No, see, that's it, like the law is very specific. That like there is no way to do it. And so the people on this, it was this story I was reading were like, work is being done now to fix this problem now that people realize it exists. Like,
well, have other things happened there?
I don't know. Like it's possible, but there have not been similar situations to the guy with the moose or bear, whatever it was. I don't remember what the animal was. Speaking of killing things, Crocodile Dundee snatches a snake out of nowhere and kills it like very easily.
Yeah, and I was just like, I guess you're just trying to like show off how cool your character is. I don't know.
I took it to be that he is just completely in tune with nature. We're trying to like flesh the character out a little bit. It's the same thing you're talking about, but it does flesh him out a little bit. Like he's totally in tune here.
A little bit. And
then he goes to lay down to sleep on like just a sheet that he unfurls, and I'm just like, the sleeping bag she's in isn't enough padding for me. Or what are we doing here?
Yeah, I mean, also again, 2021 lens, but like the whole like, I'm so macho, I don't need any comfort. I'm like, no, human beings are like programmed to want the most comfortable version of things. Like that's what human beings do.
Right.
We invented indoors.
Yes, exactly. And, toilets and all that stuff. I guess my notes are a little out of sorts here. I have the kangaroos here. And then the one guy like goes to pee and he stops and waits for this kangaroo to shoot at him when it pops up because Dundee's got a gun.
No, so the kangaroo poachers come in and it's weird. And then she's like, you should do something about it. And he's like, why? There's no laws against kangaroo hunting. And I was like, okay, is that real? I don't know if you're making a joke.
Right. I assume that you can hunt a kangaroo in Australia. I really don't know.
But like even deer in Pennsylvania, like they're everywhere. And frankly, we probably should just, take a few dozen of them out because there's too many of them. But like there's still laws about like how many you can kill and how you can kill them and when you can kill them. And that's something that we want people to, we want to call that population.
Right. Apparently, it is illegal to kill, buy, sell, or possess a kangaroo in Australia, at least now. I have no idea what it was then.
There was, so several years back, I was with my college boyfriend at the time, and we were at like a fair in the parking lot of a Kmart in our hometown. The Kmart's not even there anymore. And one of the things was like, we have a baby kangaroo, and you can hold it for a photo for $25.
Jesus.
I didn't do it.
I went to Tennessee recently, and I was looking for additional things to do. I was down there, and the aquarium in Tennessee will let you like hold a penguin for photos, and much the same thing you're describing. Mm-hmm. And everything I have ever read, like the Baltimore Zoo has a pretty cool penguin exhibit, and they are adamant. They're like that you can rent a penguin to be like, you can have your event there, like a wedding or a party, or
and
whatever,
the penguin like walks down the aisle.
I don't think the penguin walks down the aisle. I think you get like a room with the penguin in it, and the penguin is on a table, and you take pictures with the penguin. But it is like very, very like, you may not touch the penguin, you may not hold the penguin. Like this is dangerous for both you and the penguin. Like you shouldn't be handling the animals. And then down in Tennessee, they're like, hey, anybody want to hold one of these penguins? We got a whole mess of them in the back. Somebody grab a penguin in each hand, juggle them.
Yeah, I think in because at Adventure Aquarium in Camden, they have a penguin experience you can pay for. It's like a really expensive upgrade, and I think you just like hang out with them and like feed them, and then take pictures. I don't think it's like learn how to cuddle. I think it's it's like you go into their habitat and like feed them and like learn about penguins from a scientist.
Right, which makes sense. Anyway, we're hunting these kangaroos. He like picks up it looks like a toy kangaroo.
So I have to admit, I genuinely at first, because they like shine, the one guy's poacher's like, move the spotlight out there. And then they like show this, like, and I was like, this looks like an SNL sketch of a kangaroo. Yes. Like, I was like, this is the shittiest disguise. And then I went, why does he have a kangaroo disguise?
Right.
And then I realized, I think he's supposed, the kayfabe is that he has picked up a carcass.
Right. That's what I thought it was too, but it's like it looks like a teddy bear.
Yeah,
like
it looks fake.
Right. Like presumably somewhere in Australia you can find a stuffed kangaroo for which to shoot your movie with.
Probably. This is a moment that I thought was funny, and this is where I wrote that like with a different lead actor, I might have liked more of this movie, because he's like shaving with one of those like is that they called safety razors?
A safety razor, yeah.
He's like doing that alone, and then he hears her coming and like throws the razor and then picks up his like giant Bowie knife and starts shaving with that. And I was like, that's a funny little bit. I like that.
I got a legitimate chuckle out of that. Yeah, he tucks it into his pants, the safety razor, which I was like, ooh, buddy, that's gonna cut your belly off.
No, thank you. So that's why I was like, oh, I liked that. And I was like, maybe I would have liked this more if it was, someone else.
Yeah, I mean, Paul Hogan has a thimble full of acting talent.
Yeah.
That's it.
Bruce Campbell.
It's
Give me
not-
Bruce.
This
Give me the
cup
chin.
does not runneth over. Even Steve Guttenberg would have been like a more like obviously he's not Australian.
I don't know that. I don't think this is.
But I'm just saying he's more talented. Like it would be.
He's more talented, but I don't think this is his wheelhouse.
I mean, I'm here for Steve Guttenberg.
His wheelhouse is like beleaguered dad of Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen, and like
goofball lead of your wacky doodle comedy was sort of his bread and butter.
yeah. And then
Well, you could do this movie as a wackadoodle comedy.
no, then that version of Crocodile Dundee, of the character Crocodile Dundee, I don't think is as compelling.
So we start talking here, and she's like, "Fine, I'll just go off on my own if you won't do."
Because
this
he
thing I wanna
says
do."
it's basically he's one of those people you look at and you're like, I'm gonna start a timer and see how long it takes for you to say something that makes me go.
So I knew this was going to come up, and literally I'm going to read my notes here, and I know you're going to call me a misogynist, but in this specific instance where he is talking about this specific person, he is right. She should not go off on her own. It is dangerous. Just like it would be dangerous
His
for you or
phrasing
me.
though is that you're a woman. This is man's country. That's
Yes.
what I take umbrage with.
I agreed. I'm just saying is also, this is Dundee country, perhaps is more accurate.
But like
I
you
would
can
also
phrase
be-
it as, hey, you're a city person with no outdoors experience. You should not be
Right.
out here alone. Is a better sentence than you're a woman. This is man's country, which is what he literally says. And I wrote barf.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I'm just saying he is also correct that you're going to die is the sentiment he is expressing here.
Yes, but he could have phrased it better and less misogynistic.
Sure. I won't argue with that.
And then she shoots his
saying
feet,
he
and I
is
was
also
like,
right.
maybe you could, shoot. I wanted this to be like, oh, I'm actually like, I'm not just a city girl.
Well, that's what she was getting at with the shot. She like puts it right between his feet.
Yeah, but nothing comes of that. And then when we get to the city, it's like, no, you are a city girl. You're 100% a Silver Spoon Country Club city girl.
Also, she immediately is in distress, like damsel in distress, after this shoot between the feet scene. So I don't really know what it's supposed to be conveying.
Yeah, like at first, because I was like, oh, maybe she's like, well, because like shooting clay pigeons and shit, like shooting things is like a rich people activity.
Yeah, for sure.
So like that could have been her thing. Like I would like that version is funnier to me where it's like how his skills he thinks are specific and she's like, well, here's the rich person equivalent that means I'm also good at
Right.
things. Like that's funny to me.
Right, that would be an entertaining movie. I would enjoy that if they were like more like equals. That's probably what the movie would be today.
Yeah. Well, I don't even need them to be like I don't need it full on like, girl power, equality between the sexes, throw up your peace sign, Spice Girls. But like give me a little more because this character is a prop in this movie.
Sure, yeah.
In literally 5 seconds, she like strips down to a bathing suit as he peeps at her.
Yeah.
And the music is romantic and soft and sweet. And I was like, fuck out of here. That's not
Yeah,
the music
also,
for this
she's-
scene.
Her bathing suit is a like full coverage one piece, but also a thong.
Yeah. It's those 80s. It's what the 80s with the French cut.
But it's like it's super high. It has no cutouts, and then also it's a thong. It's like like if you see her from the front, you're like, oh, that's a pretty modest bathing suit, and then she turns around, and you're like, oh, that's her whole butt. What are we doing here? I do like this croc attack. I wish it went on a little longer because it popping out of the water looks cool. Yeah,
I was like, oh, this is gonna happen. Also, whoever wrote the Wikipedia plot for this movie is weird.
Oh,
because like there's
you
certain
don't say the person who wrote the plot summary for Crocodile Dundee on Wikipedia is unusual.
Because I was reading, I was trying not to read it because I was like, I was convinced something was going to happen in this movie. I could have read the Wikipedia plot because nothing happens in this goddamn movie. But it was like, she goes to defecate and gets attacked by a crocodile. And I was like, she was not pooping?
She was definitely there to swim, not poop.
Or fill her canteen. God. I was like, she was wearing a bathing suit. Like, who's pooping in a thong bathing suit?
She was going for a... Ew, horrible.
No, she is filling the canteen because that's what the crocodile attacks.
Oh, right. You're right. It does grab her around the neck.
Because it also later says that like her fiance admits to his true colors in a drunken state, and I was like, that never happened. Maybe that's in the
I wonder. Well, I wonder if it's a TV edit thing.
Oh, maybe, or the Australian, because the Australian release is a few minutes longer.
Yeah, that could definitely be.
So this
So we kill a crocodile.
way too quickly, and also like with no fanfare. I didn't like it.
Right. It's the most. It should be the most exciting scene in the movie, and instead it's nothing.
Yeah, your movie called Crocodile Dundee, and your only scene with a living crocodile is 3 seconds long.
Right.
And then we meet a native Australian person, and I was like, oh boy.
Yeah, I was a little concerned here because immediately he's got a knife at this guy's throat. But then it's just like, oh, JK, we're friends. This is like
it's that action movie thing.
You son of a bitch.
Yeah,
exactly.
Like my go-to for that is Terminator 2, the gun standoff Sarah Connor has with the guy in the trailer.
Oh yeah, sure, yes.
I don't know why that's always my go-to for my brain.
Okay,
but
yeah. By the way, follow up to our Patreon episode on Ghostbusters where we talked about Last Action Hero a whole bunch, which is up on Patreon. You should go listen to our great Ghostbusters episode. Last Action Hero still rules. Super great. I loved it. I really, really thoroughly enjoyed watching it.
I almost threw it on the other day, but then I was like, no, I'm going to see if Jack would watch this with me.
It rules. It is delightful. And I was right about it when I was a dumb 6-year-old because I thought it ruled just because it was cool. No, it also rules because it's a very smart, fun satire of all the action movie tropes of the era. Delightful. Really good.
So this whole, native Australian character moments thing is so shoehorned in here and serves literally no purpose.
Yeah, I thought this guy was going to come back or be part of the climax or something. Because, like I said, I kind of only vaguely knew this movie. I knew that's not a knife, this is a knife. And I knew it was in a city, but I was like, oh, maybe that line's from Crocodile Dundee in Los Angeles, which is apparently Crocodile Dundee 3. It's the one that I was most aware.
The third one is that one?
Yes.
Oh.
That was the one from the 90s, which I think our video store had a huge poster for.
I mean, that was 2001 was Crocodile Dundee 3.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, then I don't know.
Yeah, because I noticed there's a huge, it's like this one is 86, and then Crocodile Dundee 2 is like 88, 89, and then it's like 2001, and I'm like, if your sequel is taking that long, you might want to rethink this.
Just not do it?
There's
it's
that.
Fine. We had enough Crocodile Dundeeing.
Yeah, so they like chat with this guy, and then he's like, I have to go do the native tribal dance or whatever. And then she sneaks out to watch it. And it's like,
yeah, I thought this kind of sucked that she's they're like, you can't come to this. And she's like, okay, I'll come take pictures of it
in secret. But also it's only like 3 seconds long. I don't get it.
It's only to set up the moment where she sneaks to take the picture. Dundee spots her, winks at her, and they have like a little moment, and then she leaves. It's just to further their relationship.
It's a very bizarre choice. And then this is where she's like, you should come back to New York with me. It would make a great closer to my story. And I was like, why?
Yeah.
He's just a dude. He's just a huckster. Like, I don't get it. He's an Australian Ringling. Not Ringling. Who's the other? Who's
Barnum?
That's
Barnum.
From Hugh Jackman, right?
Yeah,
I didn't watch the movie.
I didn't watch the movie either, but I assume it's him. I don't think they made a movie about Bailey.
Yeah, Ringling.
Yeah, I guess that was the circus when we were going, or when we went to it the one time.
We went to a circus?
I went to a circus, and maybe it was a school thing, but it was Barnum and Bailey.
Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey's?
Yeah, so it was like a triple merger there. And now there are no circuses.
Quad, because the Ringling Brothers, there's 2 of them.
Well, I assume the Ringling Brothers was a circus.
Oh, yes. Oh, I guess Barnum, my brain always associates.
P.T. Barnum was a circus. I'm assuming Bailey was a circus and Ringling Brothers was a circus. Then they just all...
See, I thought Bailey was just Barnum's partner.
No, I assume that was a merger. I don't know. Idea. I'm not a circus person. And also, they don't exist anymore, I'm pretty sure.
I don't think so. Yeah.
I think they're all gone.
Because there used to be occasionally, there would be the big pop-up tent in Philly at the Mann Center. And I'd be like, oh, huh. Yeah. Maybe I'll do that. And then I never did.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember I remember one time we were leaving a Flyers game and the circus was at the Spectrum, which was just across the parking lot.
Okay.
And we were walking to the car And I feel like I've inflated this in my memory, but I'm just gonna tell it the way that I remember it. I was a kid.
Go for it.
A long time ago, but this is my memory of it. This woman is holding a kid in one arm and holding the hand of another child as they're walking into the circus. And there's a protester there with like a really sad sign of a poorly treated lion or elephant or something. And like, look, circuses, like that person was right. Circuses are bad for animals. That's not a thing. But in my memory, this woman let go of the child's hand and punched her. And then like grabbed the hand back and kept
punched the protester?
Yes, because the woman was like getting on her face, like, how can you take your children to see this? And then the mom was like, pow, just a little short arm jab, and then just like kept going. I don't know. Again, that could be just completely inflated over the years, but that's my memory of it. Just like a quick like boom, and then keep walking.
I like that. I would rather have the Barnum story of like how garbage, shyster, liar, manipulator he was. He was like, this woman was George Washington's slave. And people are like, that can't possibly be true because she would be like 200 years old. And he's like, when she dies, we'll cut her open and I'll prove it. And you're like, what?
I hope she doesn't die soon. Is this like something you're...
Also, what are you proving?
He's going to like cut her arm open and count the rings.
Yes. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Please don't cut anyone's arm off to count the rings. That's obviously a joke. The other thing about this Crocodile Dundee relationship thing, she like really loves his negs. He's constantly negging her. He's like Mystery Dundee, just like, let me tell you all the things that are bad about you. And she's like, oh, don't stop. Tell me more.
I think also maybe that's part of why I don't like it, because he wrote this movie and starred in it. And I'm like,
right.
So you wrote this to be like, yeah, this is how I get a girl. No, fuck off.
I mean, look, it's bad. I will not say that it is not bad, but certainly some people do this and are successful.
Obviously,
you know?
Some people are damaged, and like that's fine.
I do not condone this. I do not endorse it. I'm just saying, like, obviously some people do this and it's effective, but like preying on people's insecurities to get laid is really kind of a huge bummer to me.
Yeah.
I will. What isn't a huge bummer to me is the absolutely gorgeous, amazing lake we see here after this.
It is beautiful. But yeah, she's like, you should come back to New York with me. The newspaper will pay for it. And I'm like, why though? Like,
right.
Again, the story you promised was a man with one leg who overcame the odds and is now going back to the scene of his the scene of his attack to like show people. And that's not what you're doing at all anymore. So like, what newspaper editor-in-chief is like, yeah, we'll spend money on this hogwash.
Yeah, I don't get. It's like the other thing about it too is it's funny to see Crocodile Dundee have these misadventures in New York, right? Like he encounters a mugger and whatever. But it's like, do you want to read a story about this guy going to the opera and a dinner party and stuff? Like, I don't see what the intrigue there is. Is like,
yeah, I couldn't
really
figure
big. Out. There's lots of people here.
I didn't get why him coming back would be worth anything to anyone. Like him in Australia, whatever. Like, I hung out with a shyster for a week, and this is what I learned, like some BuzzFeed nonsense. But, like, you don't...
Yeah.
He doesn't need to come home, because all they do is treat him like it's like King Kong. They're like, look at this feral man. I'm like, he's not feral. Yeah. He's just a dude.
They treat him like he's Tarzan and/or George of the Jungle.
Yes.
And he's like he's not a sophisticated person, but he can speak and write and do like, I mean, I don't know, maybe he can't.
He's a civilized human. He's not feral.
He just has a weird job. Yeah. Yeah, honestly, it's akin to doing this same treatment with somebody who, moved to New Orleans, doesn't have a regular, full-time-ish job and just like does odd jobs around town, scrapes by enough to get by, and like that's how they want to live, which like people do that, it's like a thing people do.
Cool.
I do like, I will say, like, say something nice. I do really enjoy this bit where he goes around and collects all this food, like forages and cuts off the bark of the tree and picks this fruit and picks this thing or whatever. And then he's like handing it to her and letting her eat it. And he's like, yeah, it tastes like shit, but gets the job done. And she starts eating this mushroom and she's like, what are you going to eat? And he's like, oh, this. And he pulls out a can of beans and starts opening it. I did think that was funny.
Yeah, that was cute. So they fly to New York.
Oh wait, you forgot the scene. Speaking of her giving him the doomy eyes, he is spearfishing and she is just like agog. She can't even handle it. She's practically like rolling around on the ground, like eyes out, tongue rolling out, eyes going.
I must have stopped. I must have stopped paying attention because I don't remember that, but I believe you.
It's like she basically has to wear a bib to catch the drool.
Ew. Ugh. So now they fly to New York. Should have brought the sidekick guy with them, but whatever. And then he's like, we meet her fiance or her boyfriend or whatever.
So it's like the little things are good. Like Mick has never seen an escalator before and doesn't know how to handle it is funny. Like it is a funny thing. Like you set that up. And it's a good payoff, and it's like
you do an elf too.
12 of the, yeah, it's like just give that. It's like I get the appeal of that kind of thing. You can give me 12 of those. It's fine. That's what Elf is the same sort of like fish out of water jokes.
Yeah, I think the reason Elf works a little better is that like all of that stuff is condensed into like a 5-10 minute montage,
right?
And then
it's
you
not
get
even that long.
No, but then you get like, I put syrup on my cereal or like whatever he does. I don't remember. I don't watch Elf every year.
It's pretty off. That's pretty accurate.
You get.
I unfortunately do watch Elf every year, and that feels right.
Oh, I thought you hated Elf.
I do.
Why do you watch
my girlfriend really likes it, and she doesn't
really
like a lot of movies. Yeah, she's a big fan.
Huh.
And
I wouldn't. If I was filling out the back of her baseball card, that would not have made it there.
She doesn't like a lot of movies. She's not a movie person. Like she will enjoy watching a movie, but she is not like a obsessive consumer of them like I am. And so like anytime she's into a movie and like wants to watch something, I'm like, yeah, sure, cool. Like, cause like I will enjoy it just cause like I'll watch this movie. So anytime that she like wants to lead the charge, which isn't that often, I'm like, yeah, sure, let's watch that. Yeah, why not? I'll check that out. And so because she knows I hate it so much, she was like, can we please watch it? Like I really like this movie. I haven't seen it in a long time. And I was like, yeah, all right, fine. And so for her birthday, I gave her like a fake gift certificate that was like redeem for one
viewing.
Yes. But it has come back into circulation.
Huh. But yeah, like I remember like that movie was like 5 minutes of that montage of like eating gum off, like all the weird stuff. And then you kind of got it sprinkled in here and there. And it became less of like the focal point and just like a throwaway gag. And I think that is a very well executed version of the fish out of water because it's not like hat on a hat of just like, it's the same joke.
Right.
We get it.
Right. Yeah. It's like, so like he comes like here, it's like, here's a great like 3 scenes real quick. And then I'll let you take back over for the dinner party. But so we have like the escalator thing. Pretty good.
Well, I wasn't even at the dinner party yet.
Right, but well, whatever. But we go outside, and then it's Reginald Val Johnson, and immediately he's like, it's the same thing of like, oh, I don't know any better, but he's like, oh, like, what tribe are you from? And I'm like, ugh, poor Reginald Val Johnson.
That was my note, poor Reginald Val Johnson.
Yeah, it's like, I get it, but I just don't think it needs to be here. Like, it does nothing for me.
No.
But then the follow-up, they're in the fancy hotel and he's smoking a cigarette and he's like looking for an ashtray and can't find one and he shrugs and he ashes on top of his hat. I thought was very, very funny. Like I legitimately laughed at that because it was so unexpected to me.
Yeah.
Because like nobody smokes in movies anymore, so I just don't have it. Like any smoking related joke is probably going to still work for me because that's just like completely.
Well, smoking is an automatic R now.
Right.
And that's and Disney apparently banned it in all their films in 2007, like ages ago, and that's why the new Cruella didn't smoke.
Yeah, trash.
They gave her a cane because I was like,
gave her a cane. She doesn't have a cane in the
I know, but so because my brain was like, I think my brain like her having something to like gesture with her hands because she does a lot of like that, like that kind of stuff. I was like, oh, that's what my brain conflated and like. Didn't notice anything was weird because I'm used to her having the cigarette holder and they just gave her a longer one.
So did she have polio that she got better from?
No, it was a fashion cane. It was an eccentric rich person fashion cane, which tracks.
Cruella smokes. This is canon. Get this trash out. Are they going to go like edit it out of the cartoon movie on Disney Plus?
They just won't put it in their new stuff.
Do you know that's why people think Disney makes people point with 2 fingers?
That's a very common theory, yeah.
Yes, I find it amusing. It's also like
it's clever.
I've seen pictures of Disney where it's like, yeah, that could have been a cigarette photoshopped out of that easily.
But like, so he's in New York. So first of all, we meet her boyfriend again, and he's very nice. He's very sweet, and like, I missed you. You're sexy, and I was like, shouldn't you be like an asshole? Like,
yes, exactly. I was like, this should be a Hallmark movie boyfriend who's like, oh, you gallivanting all over the planet.
What's that, boss? Work on Christmas? Got it. Hang up. Like,
yeah. This guy shouldn't be nice and sweet and charming and like super excited to see her and happy. And it's like, as an audience member, I'm like, oh, because she doesn't mention the boyfriend.
Well, they're in the beginning. He's in the beginning.
Right, but she kisses Mick.
Oh, that's right. I forgot she kissed him already.
So I'm just like, oh, I forgot about the boyfriend. And I'm like, oh, she has a boyfriend. Wait, that sucks. Like, What are we doing here? And it's like, oh, Andy's nice? What is this movie?
Yeah, so they're driving around New York, and Crocodile Dundee is just like rolling down the window and chatting with people as they're at a red light. And I was like, he wasn't like this in Australia. He's like,
right.
Oh, it's so friendly, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, you were not that way in Australia. So why are you this way here?
I think it's because in Australia, again, he only knows 22 distinct individuals. And so there's just no strangers to him. And so it's in Australia, he's like, hey, Billy, put another shrimp on the barbie or whatever, And then
you sound like fucking Bert from Mary Poppins.
I mean, look, when you're bad at it, it's funnier to lead into it.
I mean,
okay?
yeah.
I'm aware that I don't think I'm good at it. I just would like that to be clear. But he's like, he's walking around town in Australia and he's just like, oh, I know all these people. Billy, Paulie, how you doing, mate? And then he comes to New York and he's like, I don't know any of these people. You ever been down under? Have a crocodile bit or something. And then he's just like meeting all the strangers. I keep saying nice things, but I did have a legitimate laugh of like, oh, he's in the bathroom, he makes a weird noise. I'm like, oh, here comes the bidet joke. And then they like do their little tete-a-tete, and she's getting in the car and you hear the window open upstairs and she looks up and he's like, it's for washing your ass, ain't it? I thought that was good.
Yeah, that was cute. And then this is what I wrote. Oh, this movie is, it's been a while since I've seen it, but I think this movie is just Jungle to Jungle.
Yeah, I have not seen Jungle to Jungle in a long time. I just recently listened to a funny podcast about it.
Oh, really?
Really, ripped into it. Quite good.
It's JTT, right? JTT and Tim Allen?
Tim Allen, who I'm not a big fan of.
Yeah.
Is it JTT?
I think
it might be that other kid.
Not Devon Sawa.
No, he looks like both of them, but it's not him.
He looks like every 90s heartthrob.
Right, he had the floppy haircut and all that business.
Yeah. That like colonial middle part.
The colonial middle part?
Yes, in
hair.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about the middle of Jungle to Jungle.
No. They had the colonial middle part.
That's right.
That they featured in the beginning of Hocus Pocus when it was supposed to be 1693.
Yes. It's actually Sam Huntington.
Why don't I know that name?
Did you watch Being Human?
Yes.
He was the werewolf, I think.
Oh, really? Show me. Show me. Oh, you're right. Yeah. I totally see it.
He was the werewolf, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, because the vampire had that smoldery vampire look, and the ghost was a girl.
Yeah. That's he was the werewolf. Anyway, this is not a Jungle to Jungle.
So this is no, it's not. Pod 2 cast. So the boyfriend's like, hey, we should go somewhere special for dinner tonight. And she's like, this restaurant. And he's like, 7:30? Great. And she's like, reservation for 3. And he's like, okay.
I'm not getting laid tonight, I guess.
Which, like, props to him for not being like, how about no? Like, which I would have done. I would have been like, no, your little weirdo Australian friend can order room service. I haven't seen you in 6 fucking weeks. We're having dinner together.
At minimum, I'm like, okay, he can come to dinner, but then you're gonna come home with me, right? Like just the two of us, and we can like have a cocktail at home together and like reconnect and have a couple moment.
Yeah,
right? We are getting pretty serious here, right?
So they show up, and she's like, "Sorry, we're late." And I was like, I needed more indication that you were late, because he's like, "Oh." Like orders or whatever and goes to the table, and he stands up and she's like, you have been waiting a while. And I'm like, wait, is he supposed to be drunk? I don't get this. What's happening?
Right.
And then he gets to the table and he like, it's like movie shorthand for asshole. And he like someone speaks in another language to the waitstaff.
Yes.
Which like,
Yes.
I mean, it's definitely a try hard move, but I always was like, what? I don't see why that has to be such a bad thing.
Yeah, I feel like it's all about tone, right? Like if you speak Spanish fluently and you enjoy speaking Spanish and you go to a restaurant where you think the waitstaff speaks Spanish and you speak it like, you open with like hey, can we speak some Spanish? Hablo español, por favor? Something like that. And then you do it. It's different than just like rattling off the order and you're just like, oh yes, I hablo a little español. You know what I mean?
That's fair. Although this is also a restaurant that they frequent a lot, it seems.
Sure. He kind of Zap Brannigan's it.
He fully Zap Brannigan's it.
He's like, hola, Miguel, por favor, tres cervezas. And it's just like...
Although it's
like,
Italian.
Right, okay,
But yes.
I don't speak Italian.
I know. I just want to clarify that it's an Italian restaurant.
I was trying to illustrate for the podcast with the poquito español I hablo.
Try Duolingo. Refresh yourself.
I'm not good at it.
You too can be stalked by the owl of Duolingo. And so then he pulls the ultimate, like, shorthand for asshole, which is like, I'm going to order for the table. And I was like, I mean, in this instance, though, why would you order for the table? Because that only ever happens when it's like me and my boyfriend go out for dim sum and we agree on like the 4 or 5 different things we're going to get. And I'll just tell the server the 5 things we're getting.
Yeah, I don't think it's weird at all in a relationship. It's weird on a first date. It's weird on, a triple date situation. However, it could also be like, hey, Croc, is this like, do you know any of this food? Is it okay if we just like order some stuff and everybody shares and we'll find something you like to eat? But again, it's all tone. He's like, oh, let me take care of this.
Mm-hmm. And then he's clearly laughing because, Crocodile Dundee, who they never even make over to, which...
Yeah, I was
shocked.
really expecting a montage of him getting a suit and then him like finding a way to wear an alligator belt or something.
Or like he finds an alligator vest to wear under the suit, whatever.
Yeah. Alligator shoes.
Yes. So like he's kind of a douche.
I also think they do this thing here where he like kind of makes Crocodile Dundee order and he ends up punching the guy and knocking him out. And it's like
absolutely
that he does
ridiculous.
This. Yeah.
Like that's such an escalation of like, haha, yes. I'm an asshole.
And instead I'm going to throw a punch. But like, it's much funnier if he orders in Italian. Like,
oh my God, that would have been the best punchline.
It's way funnier if he is just like, yes, to start with, we'll have the arancini and the platter mezze. And for the lady, we'll do the, and just like rattles off this whole thing.
Yeah, that is such a better punchline because then
it's so much fun.
Because then the second punchline can be like, oh, had a couple of Roman tourists coming through last year, or like whatever,
exactly.
Like something.
I was going to say the same thing, exactly. And then he shows off something that they left him, like gave him, right? Like got this from some Roman tourists or whatever it is. Just like maybe it's like a cross made of crocodile teeth or something,
Yeah,
something. Yeah, I'm just spitballing ideas here, but like it's so much funnier if he's just like. Oh, yes. Again, to be fair, I am pulling that joke from the fucking Hulk Hogan movie we did where they're like, ho, Monsieur Rip, perhaps you'd like a hamburger American or a hot
I
dog.
don't. It's been so long since that movie that I forgot. I thought it was like a fresh idea.
And then I didn't realize it until I said it out loud, but like then Hulk Hogan orders in French. But it's just like, it's just way funnier. Like I'm watching this movie, I'm like, oh, he's going to speak Italian. It's going to be, no, he's just going to punch him, huh? Okay.
Yeah.
I guess that's a choice.
It was just not a funny ending. It was not the right button. Because also, it was written in a way that wasn't like a punch and then he flies back. It wasn't like a Mrs. Doubtfire, like, woo, like fall back in the chair. He looks like he has some brain damage.
Right, and then he has like a fencing response. His arms go out, and then it leads to them gaslighting him and being like, no, you didn't get punched, you're drunk. And I'm just like...
No, I don't remember that part.
Yeah, in the car. He's like all groggy and stuff.
No, because she's like, he said you punched him, and he's like, he was being an asshole, and she was like, that's not the point.
Right. Had she gotten up from the table for some reason? I don't remember.
He was like, look over there.
Oh, okay. He did a classic look over there.
Yeah.
So okay.
Because then he's like, are you serious about this, Lemon? And I'm like, this is none of your fucking business.
Yeah, it's super is not. But like, I'll give Croc the benefit of the doubt. Like, he doesn't know this woman as a boyfriend, so this is like a bit of a shock to him. But if she truly, it was like, hey, look over there, and she looked away, heard the sound of meat slapping together, because I don't know if you've ever punched or been punched, audience, but it sounds like something.
Yeah.
Like, it's a noticeable noise when a fist punches a face. And then she turns around, and her boyfriend is slumped in the chair, and he's like, I must have had too many Fosters. Like, no, what?
Yeah, no,
That's
absolutely
not what
not.
happened.
Absolutely not. So...
It's like, this man clearly has a concussion. He's like, his brain's been scrambled. It's like, hey,
like, you shouldn't let this man fall asleep.
Right. That's what I wrote down too, which apparently is no longer true. Like, that's not concussion treatment anymore, but it definitely was when I was a
Yeah, in my brain, it's like, don't let them fall asleep or they're never going to wake up.
Right. Yeah, apparently the don't fall asleep thing was so you could like monitor and make sure they weren't like suddenly slurring or having any speech like obvious brain problems. But that translated to like waking people up. Like, people would sleep for an hour and you would wake them up and talk to them a little bit.
Yeah, okay. So she's like, I'm going to take him inside. You go. She goes, we have a big day tomorrow. And I was like, a big day of what? Of what?
Yes. What?
Is he doing the morning talk show circuit? Like, is he on the Today Show? Like, what the fuck?
Right. So what needs to have happened is we need to see her like doing dispatch stories from the Outback. And then we need like a Ghostbusters-esque montage of newspapers and magazines.
We should be so lucky for that montage in this movie.
But it's like, we should think that America has Crocodile Dundee fever, right?
Yes.
That they're just like obsessed with this man of like, oh my God, what else can we learn about the crazy Australian? Oh my God, he's coming here? And it should be like Beatlemania.
I'm just picturing Robin Wright talking to Sue or whatever her name is and being like, so our guest, you want to book this man on the Today Show? Or Good Morning America, what is his deal? He's Australian. Oh, and he, what about it? He's just Australian. And he has a knife. Okay, you can get out of my office now. Like, absolutely not.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like we should as the audience be like, oh, it's not just that everyone knows Crocodile Dundee. Everybody loves Crocodile Dundee. Everybody, when he's not there, is asking, where's Crocodile Dundee? Like, I want that. I want this man getting off the plane to just like, and like
little kids in
like
hats
clawing all of his. Yeah, they all have the hats on. Women are like tearing his clothes off as he walks by. Like, that is what this should be.
Yeah. So he gets into it's a taxi. That's why I was like, it's not Reginald Val Johnson. It should have been. That was a missed opportunity. It's this gross little cab driver who looks like he crawled out of a garbage heap and like shook out his hat of like garbage juice and put it on and was like, hey, I'm gonna drive you somewhere.
This is part of a through line that happened earlier too, where he like climbed up on a pole in New York in the New York streets, and the cop like came over to him on horseback, and it like the cut away and then cut back, and Croc is like riding the back of the horse to the hotel, and it's like the whole bit is he's constantly making friends with everybody. So of course he makes friends with the cab driver. He's like, hey, you want to get a drink? And the cab like turns his light off and they go have a drink together. It's like they're trying to build this like, oh, he's this affable everyman thing.
Mm-hmm. And then you get he's like in the dive bar holding court about Australian spiders.
Which, to be fair, I think would probably happen if a guy walked in wearing a crocodile vest in a New York bar in 1996. Maybe, that's probably about how it goes down.
And then you get like, I feel like as soon as it happened, I was like, that's just a trope in the 80s movies. I never noticed that like you need a black person to walk in the scene and like validate your lead character as a cool person and then leave and never come back.
Exactly. We only allowed black people in the movies to be like, oh, it's like it's movie shorthand. All black people are extremely cool, but also we don't want any of them in the movie.
Exactly. They can have one scene and 5 lines of dialogue, maybe sing a song.
Yeah. It is a really buck wild trope.
Yeah, and then we get the fucking fuck.
Yeah, as soon as I saw this person on screen, I was like, oh man, this sucks. Like, I don't know where we're going, but I guarantee I don't like it.
Played by a cis woman.
Yeah, but the way that they had this person dressed, I was like, very clearly this is supposed to be like, I don't want to throw the wrong word around, but like clearly this person
in today's parlance is a trans woman.
Right. So I wasn't sure if the movie was going for a trans person or like a person who was cross-dressing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair.
Like I wasn't sure what the movie was doing. So I didn't want to use the wrong term, but it's like, the movie is clearly showing this person and it's like, oh, they're not the gender you think they are. Like it's very clearly what and I'm just like holding my breath of like, oh, how bad's this going to be, huh?
It's fucking terrible.
Yeah, he sexually assaults this person. He grabs their genitals. Like
he's like flirting with her, and then the fucking bottom feeding trash goblin cab driver is like, "That's a man. That's a fag." And I was like, "No, clearly not."
Yeah.
Like, full like presenting as a woman, would be quote unquote passing as a woman, and then so Crocodile Dundee walks up and grabs her by her genitals. And the bar laughs, and I was like, "No, this is no.
Yeah,
eat dirt and die, trash."
Right, like the way that you could do this joke, and like again, I'm using a lot of air quotes here because it's like this is in the 80s, it was less.
It's also even weirder that they cast a cis woman, like a former Playboy model. Who said that woman is. Right. It's so weird.
Right, like why wouldn't you have a man play this character if that's the joke you're going for? But it's like in the 90s there was a lot of jokes that were just like, man, could you imagine if gay people had the audacity to exist? Like that was prevalent.
Can you imagine gay?
Everything.
Yeah,
exactly. And so it's like the only thing I could see like working in this instance, like if this is the low hanging fruit you're going for, have it be a situation where this person like Crocodile Dundee is in the bathroom and this person comes out of a stall and he's like, what's going on here or something, you know what I mean? And it's like, oh, crazy New York City. And then it's like, it's still making a trans person the butt of the joke, which sucks, but at least it's not the main character, hero, everyman, affable, lovable guy of your movie just groping someone.
Sexually assaulting a human.
Just like, get the fuck out of here. What?
Yeah, I was so mad, and I already
he's the hero of the movie.
I already was like,
person's genitals.
Already don't really like this movie, and then that happened, and I was like, mother, get out, get out.
So like, I didn't hate this the way you did. I think it's like kind of fine and sort of like a weird Shaggy Dog of a movie where it's like you said, there's no conflict. There's really just like barely sketches going through, but I'm just like, this sucks. Like, it just wasn't very funny. Like, this person is humiliated and runs away very sad, and the whole bar laughed. Like, oh, cool.
Yeah, not okay.
Because, like, you can throw that scene out and not affect the movie, and you can have this subsequent scene, which is Crocodile Dundee talking to two hookers and not knowing they're hookers. I thought this scene was kind of funny. Like, the way that this played out of them, and
they're clearly dropping hints that, like, everything they're saying is like, I'm a sex worker. I'm a sex worker. I am a sex worker.
And not for nothing, this is the only time in the movie where an American person is like, hey, you're that guy I've been reading about in the news.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
It's like, it's like, oh, you know what? You're famous. We'll have sex with you for no money. Because, like, why not? Like, it'll be fun for us. I've never had sex with an Australian man. That'll be interesting. And it's like, this scene is much funnier if it's like, take out the sexual assault scene, put these two women in the bar, and he's chatting them up, and the guy's like, hey, they're hookers. They're hookers. And he's like, ah. And then he walks out of the bar with the two women, and the pimp comes out.
Oh, they
like,
fish?
Hey, you gonna pay me? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And then he's bathing in the tub, and I was like, I guess she's gonna see him naked.
Yeah.
No,
he
she
does
didn't.
Put his hat over his. Yeah.
This whole scene was weird. Again, I'm like, you wrote this movie, Brohan.
Right. He co-wrote it, to be fair.
Either way, like, you knew you were going to star in it.
Right. They go to a hot dog stand, and this is like the callback to the foraging scene. She orders him this hot dog with like 400 toppings on it. Like, look, I'm a guy who'll load up a hot dog. I got no problem going buck wild on a hot dog or Reno. But like when you're ordering a hot dog cart, she's like, all right, ketchup, mustard, cooked onions, raw onions, relish, chili. And I'm like, you are creating untenable.
Isn't that the whole point of a Chicago dog, though? Aren't Chicago dogs supposed to be like covered in so much shit you kind of have to sit down like a two-hander?
Chicago dogs have like a pickle on there and these like spicy peppers and stuff. But they're, other than the mustard and the relish, are largely solid ingredients. Like it's a pickle and pepper. This lady orders 4 different liquids. And it's just like, the hot dog bun does not have the structural integrity to support.
The hot dog bun barely has structural integrity for my mayo. Like,
she puts mustard. You put mayo on a hot dog?
Oh, yeah. Mayo and mustard. My top 2.
In Seattle, they do cream cheese, which has always intrigued me.
I would totally try that. A toasted bun with the cream cheese?
Yeah.
I would try the hell out of that.
But she does mustard, mayo, chili, and the like wet cooked onions of a street cart, and I'm like, this is a nightmare.
There's no structural integrity.
Paper. It's not a little cardboard boat. You can't.
It's just that tissue paper, that like coffee filter thing.
How, like, even doing the like South Philly lean you do with a cheesesteak where you're like eating standing up at a counter, there's no counter. How are you eating this hot dog?
So a woman gets her purse stolen and the guy's running away. The guy is a football field away at this point.
Yes.
And Crocodile Dundee
100 yards easy. Picks
up a soup can and kind of like looks around and then throws it and hits him in the head. And I was like, no, too stupid even for you.
The only thing that takes this away from the version that would be in the parody movie would be him licking his finger to test the wind.
Yes.
That's the only thing that he doesn't do, because in the parody version, that would be it.
Honestly, I would have been less mad if he like picked up a coat hanger and broke the hook off.
Yes.
And used it as a boomerang.
Later, Reginald Vell-Johnson breaks the antenna off his taxi and throws a boomerang. And I was just like, must be a deleted scene.
I was like, this is dumb.
But if Crocodile Dundee had done that here and then Reginald Vell-Johnson did it there, it would have been a good callback.
Yeah, exactly. So they go to another party and there's a lot of again, he is Tarzan and just like being trotted out at these events.
I'm going to need to pause here for 30 to 40 minutes so I can talk about the skirt that the woman is wearing.
Which skirt?
She's wearing, this woman has on a top.
Is it the old lady?
That are both, no, I might have the wrong party here, but
this is the cocaine party.
It's got the printing all over it.
I don't remember
like
this.
Letters
I'll have
all
to...
over this woman's clothes. Okay. I'm not making a joke. It literally says poop over her butt. It's like the skirt is like just random letters. It's like P P P P O O O O P P P P O O O O, and then the next line will be like S S S S X X X X R R R R whatever.
Oh, so because of the riffles in her skirt?
Yes, it literally is a sequence of P's, like 5 or 6 O's, and then P's again right over her butt. And I was just like, this.
I'll have to go back and find this scene
over her butt. It's bonkers.
So he's at the party and she's like, let me introduce you to my friend. And he introduces her to a woman that I'm pretty sure they digitally altered her voice to be down.
Yeah, I think it's just a dub over, like it's a different person.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, fuck me. And then he gropes this older woman. And rather than be horrified by this action that she's never fucking seen before, the reporter's like, he's Australian. Get out of my house.
Right. Again, like, funnier joke is something about peeing standing up. Like, again, it's not a good joke. It's still transphobic, but at least, like, it's not sexual assault and transphobic. Yeah, it's like you take out one of the two.
Ugh. And so then he walks in on some guy doing some good old-fashioned cocaine. And
he just ruins this man's stash. It's crazy.
So literally I was like, I've never seen anyone do anything with coke involving water. So I was like, I assume you're not supposed to do that. Right. I don't have a lot of experience.
Yeah, I have seen people do cocaine. I have not done cocaine, but I've never seen anyone make cocaine tea before.
Well, so why was there water boiling at this party?
Yes, I was wondering the same thing. There's just a kettle constantly steaming for just someone to have tea.
Yeah, it's weird. So
you needed to have this is a big criticism of the props or set dressing departments. I forget which would be responsible, but there should be a teacup with a tea bag in it adjacent to this tea.
Yes, 100% there should be. So yeah, he makes a steam bath for your face out of this guy's cocaine, and I was like, would that do anything?
I really don't think so. I think you could probably drink the cocaine and get some like residual.
Yeah, because people rub it on their gums in the movies.
Yeah, if he like just sipped it and swished it a lot.
I'm just picturing him picking up this bowl and like.
Yeah, exactly.
So they leave and then there's a very candid conversation about cocaine.
Right.
Is this an R-rated movie?
I don't think so.
Because she's like, and that was several $100s worth of cocaine. I don't know why she's Samantha from Sex and the City.
You totally turned her into Samantha. You even did the eye thing.
The shoulder.
Yeah.
And he's like, what's cocaine? And I was like, and she's like, you snort it. And he was like, why? And she's like, to get a buzz. And I was like, what is happening?
Why are we describing what cocaine is?
Why are we taking time out of this movie to explain what cocaine is?
And also, like, I know he's a bushman, but certainly is aware of drugs. Like, somebody's rolling up a joint in the backwoods of Australia, no?
Yes. And then this is a knife moment. Honestly, all I thought was that it felt like a knockoff version of Don't Fuck with the Babysitter from Adventures in Babysitting.
This does predate that, I think. I think Babysitter's 88.
Oh yeah. But yeah, the way the whole scene was like, it was a guy in the bright red jacket, just like the Lords of Hell, and I was like, this just feels like that. And
well, this is because every movie after Beat It was just like, gangs, bright red leather jackets, the gang attire.
Yeah, hey, it's like in Batman world, yeah.
Yeah. So we get some nice vintage newsroom scenes, which I always like to see in a movie. We get this just sad, decrepit, smoke-filled hellhole of a newsroom in 1986.
Yeah.
And so this is like, we're going to dinner with my parents. And so in my head, I'm like, okay, this is like 6 people, right? It's like Croc, the boyfriend, the girlfriend, or the woman, the lead of the movie, and her parents, and like maybe another person, right? And then we get to the house, and it's like 50 people.
It's like a huge party.
Yeah. Leading to this absolute psycho proposes in front of all these strangers like a complete maniac.
They're not strangers. That's the thing.
You're right.
It seems like it's maybe not they're friends, but it's like they're people. Like she, again, country clubby like assumption. Like it feels like these are all her dad's work friends that she now knows because she works for the company.
Yeah. Oh, and we forgot to mention the callback to Mick. The family dogs are like barking and running up really angrily, and Mick hypnotizes them like the ox earlier, or it was weird. The water buffalo.
And then the butler looks like Mickey Rooney, but it's not.
He does, yeah. I was kind of hoping it was.
God, I wish. Honestly, Jack and I watched Phantom of the Megaplex, which is a Disney Channel original movie starring Mickey Rooney. That man, I was like, how old is he, and when did he die? Because this movie came out in like, I'm gonna guess 2002. Like it was very.
I think Mickey Rooney died like fairly recently.
Right? In the last 5 years, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
But he is one of the most prolific. He was one of the most filmed actors in movie history.
Yeah. And also, I think he owned a hotel or a bowling alley in our hometown.
In Downingtown?
Yeah, I remember there's some, ask mom next time you see her or talk to her. There's some Mickey Rooney connection to, remember the bowling alley across from where like BJ's was?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. In the back there.
Yeah, near There was some connection to Mickey Rooney with that hotel in front of it.
I never knew that. I thought that wasn't a hotel. I thought that was an old folks home.
Okay, maybe that's the connection. Maybe he lived in that old folks home.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
He died in 2014, by the way.
Yeah, so I was close.
Yeah.
God, I love Mickey Rooney. He's like in this movie. He looks like he's 100 years old in the Phantom of the Megaplex.
Yeah, he does.
But then she's like, oh, she says something to the effect of like, she used to be really crazy, but now she's cool. And I was like, oh, he's gonna parrot that and say it again later. Like that's gonna be the joke, and it's not. Instead, she's like, she found a good shrink, and he's like, what? And she's like, a psychiatrist. And he's like, that's hokum. all you gotta do is talk to your friends. And I was like,
Yeah.
Christ on a cracker. No.
Yeah. It's just like, I don't want to watch my uncle's Facebook posts in movie form. Thank you very much.
Exactly. So yeah, her boyfriend proposes, and she doesn't really answer, and everyone just kind of claps, and he puts the ring on her, and they kiss, and I was like, but she didn't answer.
She didn't say yes. She didn't seem enthusiastic.
So yeah, they get married. They get engaged, and I went, there's 13 minutes left in this movie.
Yeah, it's
13.
buck wild. It's really, truly buck wild. And also, the movie has like 3 or 4 minutes of credits, so you're talking about like 9 minutes to wrap up the narrative here.
It's so bizarre. So he leaves, and then Reginald Val Johnson like drops him off somewhere, and he goes on a walkabout, and then the sex workers come back, and they're like pimp
It's
that.
different sex workers, though.
No, it's the same ones.
No, because he says, "I thought you were so and so," and it's not. And then the pimp walks out.
Oh, because it was the same pimp, so I assumed it was the same sex workers.
I thought so too.
So they start to beat him up.
This confrontation with the pimp, and then Reginald Val Johnson drives in and commits some light vehicular manslaughter to save the day.
Is there a word for like, I didn't kill you, but I definitely hit you and hurt you with my car?
Attempted vehicular manslaughter.
Sure.
Because this guy, like, he hits.
Well, no, because manslaughter implied. I thought manslaughter was it was not on purpose.
I don't know. You're probably right.
I thought the whole difference was that manslaughter was like an accident, like you didn't mean to kill someone, but you definitely did things to kill someone.
Yeah.
So this is where we get the makeshift.
This is a near vehicular homicide.
Yes, very close. And we get the makeshift boomerang, and I was like, I guess fine. I mean, I'm glad Val Johnson got stuff to do.
Yeah, it's like I agree on all counts, but I'm also like, what is going on? Why does he know how to do this and throw? It's really hard to throw a boomerang.
Yeah, so he goes back to his hotel and he's like, I'm leaving. And they're like at the hotel, they tell what's her face, the reporter girl, the woman, like, oh, he said he's checking out. We're all gonna miss him. And then he goes he like asks the doorman, like, hey, I'm going on a walkabout. Where do I go to leave town? And he's like, go to the subway. And then she comes up and he's like, you just missed him. He's at the subway. And then we get, like, I was so angry at this movie. She gets down there and the subway platform is so full, she can't get to him. And she's like, I need to speak to that man over there. And we proceed to get an extended sequence of a multi-line conversation of screamed telephone in a subway platform. Please tell him not to leave. Tell him I'm not going to, tell him he can't leave. Hey, tell him he can't leave. Hey, buddy, you in the black hat. You can't leave. Why can't I leave? Why can't he leave? Yeah, why can't he leave, lady? It's bonkers, and I hate it. Honestly, it feels like they got to the end and they were like, this conversation is only 5 lines. How do we extend it? I know. We'll get 3 other characters to shout the lines too.
And it's very strange because it's like the one guy is like an older black guy with a bandana. And I was like, are we coding this guy as like gang? And it's like, no, he's just like regular person in New York. And then the other guy is like the voice we do all the time of like, hey, bada boom, bada bing. He's also construction worker.
Looks like he's going to an audition for the Village People as a construction worker.
Yeah, it's just totally insane. And then it like culminates with the like, okay, I don't want to leave. I love you. And Croc starts like walking on top of people. There's 3 distinct shots of him stepping on another person's head and their head like jamming to the side.
Yeah, I started skipping forward. I was like, I hate this movie. I want it to be over.
Also, Reginald Val Johnson somehow had the limo repaired overnight, despite the fact that the windshield was destroyed and the antenna got ripped off and there was a big dent in the hood. But yeah, so this reminded me of, I hadn't thought... The ending of this reminded me of, I hadn't thought about this in several years, but I went to a concert my freshman year of college that was like the hippie sort of jam band adjacent music that I like, you know, guitar, folky, whatever.
Yeah.
And this very drunk young woman, like probably my age, climbed up on stage and like jumped off to crowd surf. And like, I don't
not
go
the
to
crowd. That's not the crowd for surfing.
Like, it's just not my kind of music. I've never gone. Yeah. And so this woman gets like very short distance before like coming to me, and I was close to the stage, and at the point where she's coming to me, like people had basically started dropping her. And so I just kind of had to put my hands up to protect my head because otherwise I would have gotten Crocodile Dundee where this woman would have just landed on my head. And so I just kind of like shielded myself and she hit me and fell on the ground like a bag of dirt. But it's like, I couldn't catch her. Like I had to.
I did not sign any social contract to carry you when I walked into this concert.
Right. And she got up and started yelling at me and I was like, I don't know what you think you're at, but this is not a crowd surfing concert. Like,
also,
no
like, I don't give a fuck. I didn't tell you to get on stage and crowd surf. I never said I would help you crowd surf. Get out of here.
Like, the thing is, like, if it was that kind of event,
go
and
burn patchouli.
On board, it would be one thing. But I was like, what is this crazy person doing? But she wasn't a hippie person. Like, a hippie person wouldn't do that.
No, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, anyway, the other thing this scene really reminded me of was that crazy part of, I think it's the first Raimi Spider-Man, where they're like, you messed with one of us.
No, that's not the first one. That's the second one with Doc Ock.
2?
It's 2.
Okay. But I'm just like, ugh, I'm so cringy right now. Like, what are we doing?
I don't mind it in Spider-Man.
I'm not a fan of that scene. It feels like someone who's never been to New York writing about New York.
But also, like, it's sort of like that's comic book New York, where it's like, that's Spider-Man. Even though 100 superheroes live in New York, Spider-Man is like the superhero of New York.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. I just, the whole like New Yorker vibe of it, I'm just like, bleh. Yeah. Anyway, that's the end of Crocodile Dundee. I do have one piece of information to add to this podcast before we leave, and
Go ahead.
That Mickey Rooney was the either the owner or just the endorser of the Tabas Hotel and Theater near Downingtown. It was Mickey Rooney's Tabas Hotel and Theater, and his face used to be on it.
Really?
So I think that's that. I think I had the right hotel, and I think it was just that like he for a long time was either like an endorser of it or he either endorsed it or he just so maybe it's an old folks home now, but I found the picture that I remembered, and there literally was this weird giant billboard of Mickey Rooney's face wearing this dumb green hat on the side of that hotel.
Move the other way. Mm-hmm. Oh, I remember that. I never knew that was supposed to be Mickey Rooney.
Yeah, that's Mickey Rooney.
It looks like the Ollie's logo.
It does look like the Ollie's logo. It super does. He also kind of looks like the little old guy in the Luck of the Irish. Speaking of Disney Channel originals.
Yeah, it does look like the Nazi from Blues Brothers.
That's right, the Nazi from Blues Brothers. Anyway, let's get the hell out of here. Do you have any final thoughts on Crocodile Dundee?
No, I hate it.
This podcast is way longer than this movie.
No, I hate it.
Yeah, I didn't quite hate it as much as you, but I just like don't know why you would go visit this if you weren't already into it. It's like there's just not a lot here.
No.
There's a few good moments. Like I did get some legitimate chuckles and one laugh out of this movie. I won't lie. I'm not too cool to say that, but this movie is just kind of like it meanders forever. And I really do think it's just one of those relics of its time where it's just like, this guy is it. Let's get him in some movies, you know?
Yeah, possibly.
So anyway, this has been Dissecting the 80s. Don't forget to go visit us over at Patreon. We mentioned that Ghostbusters episode. It's a very good one.
It is.
We're approaching, really, truly a lot of fun. We're approaching 20 hours of bonus content over there at the $5 tier. Anybody who signs up gets some bonus content, but at the $5 tier, you get quarterly bonus episodes. And I don't know if we had ever explained this, but just in case people aren't familiar, if you do sign up for Patreon, you get all the back catalog at once. So everything that we've ever posted, you can go there and look and check out the old newsletters and stuff. And they also give you I'm a Patreon supporter of a few different podcasts. They give you an RSS feed that you can put into your favorite podcast app, whatever one that is for you. So you can just not have to have a different player. It's not like Spotify where they're only on one app. Like you can listen to it on anything. So if you want to get more of our content, check out patreon.com/dissectingthe80s. Helps support the show, lets us do things like live shows when that's a thing again, helps us upgrade our equipment. We have nicer microphones. Thanks to you all who have joined us over the years and pledged to be members of the show. And we really appreciate it. So if you have time to do that, check it out, patreon.com/dissectingthe80s. We're also on Twitter at Dissect the 80s and on Facebook, Dissecting the 80s. We'd love to hear from you then. Kudos to Patreon supporter and listener Michelle, who chimed in on the back to school episode talking about registrations, which was really cool.
It was a nice little anecdote.
Yeah, it was cool to see the real version versus the movie version there. But so go check all that stuff out, and we will see you back here in a couple of weeks because Dune comes out in October. But we know October is a designated horror movie month here on the podcast.
Yeah,
we're going to be doing Dune a little early on the 20th of September, which I've never seen before or read the book, but I'm excited to dive into this weird thing here.
Yeah, I've never seen it.
Yeah, so I'm excited to see what's what here. So that'll be on the 20th of September. Thank you so much for listening. I've been Trip Lano.
I will always be Andrew Lano.
Until next time.
Don't you forget about me.
Dissecting the 80s is a Chum Some of This production.
Ow.